Today we're taking a look at the third issue of the quarterly modeling magazine Sculptors. This is the winter 2020 edition, and for those of you that don't know, Sculptors is a magazine about 3D printing, figure sculpting, modeling, and things that tie into that in the general otaku pop culture sphere. So let's take a look. Yeah, I feel like that some days. This one's really created the Cicada Man from Ultra Q. I'm not sure if you've seen an actual cicada shell out in the wild, but they have this amber sort of color to them, and Akinori Takaki really captured that very well with this figurine. It's a more kind of an anatomy chart of the Cicada Men. Very sort of bizarre, like bordering into like almost Lovecraft sort of territory look of Ultraman monsters. Oh. It's a very dynamically posed Baltan Seijin. Look at him, he's a dashing looking fellow, isn't he? This is a version of Metron from Ultra 7. This was sculpted by Jinosuke Abe, but it's based on a design by the late Yasushi Nirasawa. And if you're a fan of Nirasawa, you can tell that there's some of those, very minute Baroque details in his version of Metron. This is sort of a Ex Machina, a little bit of Battle Angel Alita, a little bit of a Hajime Sorayama thing going on. It's a very provocative design, as some people would call. That's a good euphemism, provocative. It's like, how are we going to describe this sculpture? Horny? No, we can't say horny. Provocative? Bingo. Any Japanese publication that is marketed towards otaku is required by law to feature at least a little bit of Evangelion-related content. You too can have your own upside-down Eiffel Tower if you buy this really expensive 3D printer. Man, she's really not happy. She's like saying, hey, you forgot to put in more toilet paper in the bathroom. Hey man, what the fuck? It's Sexy Beetlejuice, because somebody demanded it. This is from a line of figures from Kotobukiya that take various famous movie monsters and turns them into cute girls. I think they've already done Pinhead. They've already done Pennywise. God only knows. Maybe they'll do Leatherface. I mean, maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe they'll do Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer or Alice Sweet Alice. I mean, there's that Candyman remake in the works. Maybe they'll do Sexy Candyman. This is a character from Garo, which is a great tokusatsu show from Keita Amamiya. You might know him from Zerum. And this has actually been unavailable in the US for a long time, but it's currently streaming on High Dive, so I highly recommend checking it out. Sort of a step-by-step look at how they began sculpting this head. A lot of the little like fine detailing, painting, final assembly. Look at that guy, he flosses. Sculpting tools designed by Takeyuki Takeya, so you too can get those weird, like creepy, organic textures that he makes. I like this guy. Those are kind eyes. This is a very affable dragon fellow. And that's a very not affable dragon fellow. This is like straddling that line between like Japanese video game monster design and like Warhammer dragon design. This is sort of a pastel Ilsa She-Wolf of the SS sort of thing going on. Look at these two guys. Look at them. They're great. You want to see a whole buddy movie with these two guys. If you look at a lot of like Hobby Japan issues from the earlier mid-90s, you see a lot of these sort of very tokusatsu inspired like sort of monster designs. Like you can tell this guy is a little bit of a kind of a Kamen Rider meets Spawn thing going on. Can you imagine how this guy must smell? This is sort of a Mad Max by way of Jamie Hewlett sort of look to it. That is definitely a Peggy Bundy hairdo. Maybe it's making a comeback. More of Kotobukiya's cute girl statues. This is kind of a Japanese take on Poison Ivy from Batman. Remember in the early aughts when like Marvel and DC were both kind of like flirting with manga aesthetics, but like just purely on an aesthetic level? They didn't really get what really attracted people to manga. They're like, what do we do to capitalize on this manga thing? Like, I don't know, put Kiyasamiya on X-Men. Why not? This is a great version of the Xenomorph. It's really very few sculptors I've seen can really truly encapsulate what Giger did with like his original suit. But I always appreciate when figure makers remember to include the translucent dome on the head. I think that's such a great little detail. It's a series of busts based on the manga and anime series Beastars. And I really got to hand it to this sculptor. They really captured the sort of, cartoony, sort of almost elastic quality of the characters in the manga. And sometimes that can be very difficult to transfer from, 2D to 3D. But Stars pulls it off. Takashi Tsukada. This is a behind-the-scenes look at the opening of the Beastars anime series, which is done in this stop-motion animated art style. And honestly, I was kind of hoping that the whole show was going to be done like this, because, these figures are really well sculpted. Here's sort of a brief retrospective on SMH magazine and its sister publication DDD. SMH was a magazine ran from 1995 to 2000. It was from Hobby Japan, and it was sort of a side publication they had about like more bizarre and unusual like sculptures and figure works, and it's very much sort of a forerunner to Sculptor magazine. And this, featured Takayuki Takeya. This featured Yasushi Nirasawa when he was in his prime. This looked at ball-jointed dolls. It looked at superheroes. Looked at, anime. Looked at erotic grotesque art. But they'd also have, like, movie reviews. They'd look at comic books. Sometimes they would review, like, model guns. They would run short comics in there. If you could track down back issues of it, it's really cool. Melty Cat. How is Melty Cat made? A lot of tutorials in this magazine showing you how to create some of the things you see in it with ZBrush. Kind of a Joker color scheme. Sort of a look at the android girl that we saw earlier. This is great, sort of step-by-step showing how they do the painting for the hair, for the skin. All those great, very little, very intricate details. And she was created through 3D printing, and really this is going to be the future of garage kits. So this has been our look at Sculptors magazine. We hope you enjoyed it. We're going to be trying more little short video reviews like this in the future. So this is Renzo from Phantasmic signing off.